Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's me, Dave Splash from thedarkstuff.com and the Dark Stuff Podcast. Thanks for checking in. This is episode number 107 of the Dark Stuff Podcast. Can you believe it? Wow. It's hard to believe we've made it this far, all the way to 107. But when you start at 100, it's a whole lot easier to get to this spectacular number. Anywho, on today's show, I'm bringing you an interview I conducted with a really fantastic up-and-coming indie band from Omaha, Nebraska called See-Through Dresses. The band released their first full-length album in November of 2013. They're about to head out on a national tour in support of the album. I spoke with them as they were gearing up for this tour. They were just working on finding a new bass player to go on tour, and we'll get into that in a second. Let me just catch up, do a little housekeeping, as I say on the show. I've got a new place where you can find the Dark Stuff Podcast. It can now be on TuneIn Radio. It's an app that I always tell people who live outside of Omaha to listen to my radio show on it, because it has a lot of radio stations on it that you can listen to live from all around the world. And so TuneIn.com now has the show. So it's also, you can find it there on iTunes, on Stitcher, Spreaker, Podomatic. Eventually it gets to YouTube. And okay, so there you go. So that's that's where you can find the show. As always, if you need to reach me, you have a question about the show, whatever, I'm on Twitter at Dave Splash. All right, and back to the See-Through Dresses. Their music has been described by saying it drones like Joy Division and has the dark ambience to match it. When you listen to them, you'll hear elements of early 90s shoegaze music, a lot of Think Creation Records stuff from the early to mid 90s, talking groups like Ride and Lush and My Bloody Valentine, Swerve Driver perhaps, some 80s influences, throwing groups like The Cure, and also a dose of classic rock perhaps, as you'll hear the band talk about in the interview. I spoke with Sara and Matt from the band. They are both the songwriters and singers in the group. Now, I met Matt for the first time in this interview. I've known Sara a little bit. She used to run the door at various shows here in Omaha, and so I got to know her that way. They've both been playing in bands in the Omaha area for years. They both played in a group called Honey and Darling, which is a group I played on my radio show a couple of times. There's another group, Millions of Boys. They both played in the touring version of the group The Conduits. Conduits were an Omaha band that were really good. They lasted about one album or so, and they were not on the record, but they were in the touring version. They were on Connor Oberst's label Team Love, if I remember correctly, and now they've become the See-Through Dresses. And of course, you'll hear them tell the story of how the band formed, kind of out of the ashes of Conduits. In addition to those bands that I mentioned, Sara has also played bass for Tim Kasher in his solo band. Tim Kasher being, of course, of Cursive and The Good Life. Before we get into the interview, I want to play you a couple of cuts off the album. The band has graciously given me permission to play music on the show. I'm going to start with a song right now called Glass. This is on side 2 of the record. It's one of the more rocking songs on the album, a little more of an 80s influence on it. And when we play a couple other cuts on it, you'll hear more of the shoegaze sound. But this is a cut called Glass from the See-Through Dresses.
Goes
Yeah, I got that free with a pizza.
For real?
Yeah. It was one of these deals where like Papa John's would give you a movie every time you got a pizza from them.
Oh,
and that was the time when I ordered a lot of that crap. And yeah, that's how I got Drop Dead Fred, and I got Bill and Ted #2 and some other movies. They were just giveaways for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. I would definitely order pizzas all the time if they said that I'd get a movie with it.
Fun here. Okay, so I figured we'll just start out with just the basic stuff, origins of the band, etc. So, when did you guys start? How did you guys meet, etc.? What was the process of getting the band together?
Okay.
And I'm already recording. I was
okay.
So
cool.
Feel free to go ahead.
All right. Well, I guess Sara and I played in a band together a while back called Honey and Darling, and when that dissolved, she had her other projects, and I kind of sort of stopped playing music for a little while, but I was still writing songs, I guess. I just wasn't playing publicly. And so I started writing a bunch of songs, and it was sort of intended to be like more of maybe a solo project or something. Right. But then I showed them to Sara, and she started playing on them, and turns out she had a few songs of her own, and so we were just kind of like, well, if we each have all these songs, and we obviously want to play with each other, we should just start a new band. Called it. Sara came up with the name See-Through Dresses, and we just started practicing and played our first show in Kansas City.
So where did you get the name then, Sara?
Oh, I have this stupid list of band names or song titles or something.
Nice. No, I think that's really cool. You actually used it and it worked.
Yeah, it has the unfortunate acronym of STD, but...
That is true, because I made a posting today on the Dark Stuff website, and I spelled it out the first time, and then I usually don't if it's like a 3-word name. Mm-hmm. So then I put STD, and I was like, yeah, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to embrace it. Some people think it's intentional, that like...
I mean, it wasn't intentional?
No, it was not.
Okay, so your first show was in Kansas City, not Omaha?
It was, yeah.
Why was that?
Why did we play Kansas?
I don't know.
Was
Maybe
it just a thing where we got invited?
Just to switch it up, I guess. I think it was.
I think we have a lot of good friends in Kansas City, and they're, musicians, and I think this band we played with called Every Day, Every Night just invited us up to Kansas City to play, so we were like, okay, that'll be our first show. And
what was your first Omaha show then?
First Omaha show?
That was,
Conduits?
It was a Conduits kickoff tour.
Yeah.
And it was the last Conduits show.
In Omaha.
You played with the Conduits for a little bit,
me and Matt both went on that European tour where we subsequently broke up. Conduits, not me
Oops.
and Matt.
Right.
Yeah.
Conduits are no longer.
But yeah, that was C3 Dress's first show.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in Omaha. Yeah.
Now, when I listened to the record, you know, I mean, I've listened to it probably like 10, 11 times or so. I listened to it today, getting ready for the interview and everything. I'm hearing a lot of, I like, I'll just get a little personal here. I like two different styles that always work for me, right? You either sound like the Replacements, or you sound like an early 90s sort of shoegaze band, a la, you know, Lush, Swerve Driver, My Bloody Valentine. Okay, so you guys fall in that second category, which is, it hits the sweet spot for me, which I think is why I like the record. But is that what you guys were consciously trying to do, or is this just...
Well,
You said they initially started with you doing demos and stuff, so what
sure.
would you...
I think, I don't know if it was ever a conscious thing, but, you know, you can't escape your influences, and we love those bands that you just mentioned, too. We've listened to My Bloody Valentine.
Although we sort of got
since.
into the Replacements a little bit later.
Yeah.
Sure.
But,
yeah. The next one's going to sound like the
Yeah.
Replacements.
It'll just be just drunk, you know, Stones kind of rock. It's totally different.
But, you know, yeah, Sara and I are big fans of a lot of the Creation Records stuff, and we also like a lot of like 80s new wave stuff, and sometimes that stuff really ends up being kind of dreamy too, you know, like album like The Cure's Disintegration, for example, was a big influence for me on a lot of things that I've written. And so I think it just sort of happened naturally, just because that's the kind of stuff we liked. We just sort of started playing it. At least for the songs that I wrote, that's definitely how it felt.
Same with you?
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, I just like a lot of bands and just ended up.
Were there any other
Sound
groups
of it.
I didn't mention that you would cite?
Like for sort of newer bands, I really like Blonde Redhead, which is just bands influenced from like the 80s.
Right.
Sonic Youth and all that. There's
Yeah.
too many.
I think it was kind of a fun thing where this project maybe, at least, I don't know, for me, I don't want to speak for Sarah, but it was the first time where I felt like a lot of our influences sort of like finally combined, and then we found a way to mix them all together. Because, you know, there was definitely the shoegaze stuff, but then I also have always been a fan of like really guitar-driven rock and roll, you know, stuff like Dinosaur Jr. or, you know, like classic rock
Right.
bands, you know.
Well, that's why I always thought Swerve Driver was the ultimate shoegaze band, because they mixed American rock like Dinosaur Jr. in with that sort of the real glossy sound that most of their other British bands were doing.
Yeah.
I interviewed Adam Franklin a long time ago, and he neglected to tell me that they were going to get back together. Like, the announcement was like, he announced it like 3 weeks later. He obviously knew when I talked to him, but he never said anything at the time, which is kind of annoying. So, that's neither here nor there. So, obviously, you guys write the songs individually, and then you bring them to the band, or how does that work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually. Sarah and I have done a little bit of co-writing. I feel like one of the songs that I'd say was pretty much co-written was probably When Summer Ends. In a lot of ways, I think maybe at least in terms of the musical content, and Sarah contributed a lot of lyrics as well on some of those choruses and things. But I think for the most part, though, yeah, we usually write separately.
album, it sounds amazing. Where did you record it, and how long did it take you to do that?
We actually did it all ourselves in the basement in our
Matt
house.
was
Really?
probably like the sole like engineer.
I engineered.
I mean, I honestly, I assumed you went to like the Mogus's place.
No, we
did it there because that whatever you're working with at that point. I mean, did you record the drums in your house too?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, wow. And
also, definitely a lot of credit goes to JJ. He mixed the album as well, but yeah, it was all done in our basement. The only thing that was done, out of our basement was the mastering and the making the lacquer for the vinyl. Of course, we don't have that kind of equipment.
Right. How long did the whole process take? Ignoring the pressing and all that, but just the recording.
We started January 2nd of last year, and it probably took half a year for it to be like complete, recorded, mixed, and mastered.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that time is due to we were still tweaking a lot of the songs as we recorded them, which is why I think, chose to do it at our house, because we were still sort of figuring out what we wanted this thing to be.
You can take a lot longer that way, too.
Exactly, without racking up
under the gun and all that.
And which, the pressure of time is very valuable. I mean, that's good in a big studio when you're forced to make decisions, but I think for this one, maybe we just felt like it was a better option to be able to sit with the stuff a little longer and mess with different parts of the music more. So
now, you went with the self-release route, doing it that way. Was that like a conscious thing of like we're going to just put it out ourselves, or did you try to go a label route, or what was the process behind that? Because I mean, obviously Omaha has a label in town.
Yeah.
Is that something like goal for the future to sort of get your record picked up by somebody else, or is the self-released route a route you want to continue going down?
We self-released just because we wanted it out as soon as possible, but we'll definitely shop the next album.
Yeah, see if we can get some help with it.
Yeah,
you can. It's hard to go. It's hard to go without some of that help that a good independent label can provide. We're really proud of what we've been able to do without it, and we really value the DIY mentality. And for this first one, I think also we felt like, if we can't do it ourselves on this first record, then maybe we don't deserve attention from a label. So we kind of, it was almost like a way to prove it to ourselves in some ways.
Interesting.
That we were serious, and I think that we have definitely decided we're very serious, and we're hoping that the next one can maybe get a little more attention.
I think the record stands out because it's so strong, and it sounds like not a band that on their first record, it sounds like, I don't know, a third or fourth record or something. More like accomplished, if that's, a word that kind of works. You went LP only, which a lot of groups are doing these days. What was the thinking behind that, and are you glad that you did it that way?
Well, I think it's the supreme format. But I finally buckled, and we have compact discs for sale.
Yeah, we do. We've got some CDs now.
We just got like 100 made, and we're actually going to release a tape version through a label. A tape label.
Really
label
cool.
that puts out tapes. Huh?
Really cool tape label called Sludge People.
if they're listening to this, grab the record besides seeing you in person?
We have a Bandcamp that sells everything. Yeah.
We'll be on a lot more online sources as well. We're currently in the process of setting up, like Spotify and things like that, and we'll have it available in more outlets online pretty soon here too. By the end of the month, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's setting up in advance of the tour and everything?
Correct, yeah.
Now, you got this tour coming up. By the time people listen to this, it probably will have already started, or it could be over because it's a podcast. You could discover it 2 years later or whatever.
Sure.
How much touring have you guys done, and what do you expect out of it? It's like a month of dates, so what's the agenda, I guess, for you guys? What do we hope to... And also, you had, when I contacted you initially, you had said you were auditioning bass players for the tour.
We did find someone.
So does that mean the bass player who's on the record is not in the group anymore?
No.
Correct.
No,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're hoping to get noticed on this big tour, by labels or whatever, and just make some new connections, I guess. And this is our first big tour, and we've done like 2 like week tours, baby things. So this is our first big boy.
Yeah. I think also there's just a feeling in the band of kind of like, regardless of if we do, like as Sarah said, we do want to meet people and see if we can get this thing picked up potentially, but I think we all just feel like we just want to play music all the time, and we just want to go out and play different cities and just do it as much as we can, and so we're gonna get a chance to do that for at least a month, and hopefully more in this year as well.
So that's the goal, to turn this into the full-time thing. Okay, so we got this tour coming up, which is going to be starting at the end of May through June.
Yep.
Then you come back, and then it's perhaps start working on the next album for 2015. But you'll be playing sporadically throughout that whole time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What's been your best, just the best experience as a band? Whether it was like a great show or meeting somebody cool, or what would you say is the best experience so far?
Oh wow. Sarah, you got anything?
We've played like a couple good shows that, like, I don't know, and people weren't like, I felt like people were kind of into it, which is always nice.
Yeah. And by the way, Sarah and I just had such a great time kind of talking with Ben and his crew. They're just wonderful people. It was really refreshing to meet someone who's had a lot of success and is still just like, he's just a guy who likes to
guy.
Yeah, he's a guy that likes to play music, and he talks to you.
Yeah, I think Ben Queller might be like the nicest musician I've ever met.
Yeah.
I was really sound checking a Lemonhead song, and he just got really stoked on it and just started singing along with me.
Yeah, it was sweet.
And
nice.
Yeah, that was like
moment.
First 30 seconds of meeting him. Good guy.
So Ben Queller, that's the experience, right?
Sarah, this is...
Are you the social media one?
Yeah,
Sorta.
she's definitely more than I am anyway.
We have Facebook. We have a Tumblr. All of this is very searchable too. Oh, so you have to be careful typing in our band name.
That is an issue.
So
right?
try to if you write a band after See-Through Dresses, then you'll probably come up with us. Otherwise, you'll get pictures of nearly naked women.
Often celebrities.
Often
which
celebs.
Is weird, but I guess that makes sense. So.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just watch out for the kids, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So is every city on the tour coming up like a place you have not played before? Is this all like brand new?
A good. I would
Most
say
of
maybe
it,
like
yeah.
a third. I've never been to.
And how
cities.
did you set the whole thing up?
Luckily, I've been on some tours and made some contacts, but a lot of it was over email, and just, sending them a nice bio and, links to our music and be like, hey, we want to play at your club.
Yeah, we've talked. Sarah and I have talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
How how good we have it in this day and age where you can.
All I'm
Yeah.
saying is
Get a hold of people pretty
if I could have,
easily.
when I used to go out on tour with bands, and if we could have had the internet or like a cell phone,
Yeah.
I mean, if they were gone, say, and I had to reach somebody, I'd have to call the club and hope that they were there, and that the club answers the phone, because a lot of them don't, and that they would actually care enough to like track down the guy in the band, and then I have to tell him like, okay, you need to put like these 2 people on the. I mean, now you can just send a text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, sounding like this old guy, like all surprised by technology, but it's like it's such a different world.
Yeah, when you
It is.
when you compare it to what you used to have to do, absolutely, it's
That's nuts. That's nuts.
so much
Yeah.
easier.
What local shows do you have coming up? Because I'm gonna say I haven't even seen the band live. I haven't seen you yet, and I want to.
Our tour kickoff show is at a Lever's, and that's Friday, May 30th,
Okay,
and
then you'll be gone for the month.
then we'll be gone for the month. I think we're working on something in July, and then maybe August, and then then we're just writing and recording
Yeah,
from there.
but yeah, we'll have some stuff though coming up after the tour, definitely.
And there you have it, See-Through Dresses, Omaha, Nebraska. Great new up-and-coming band. Look them up on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, whatever. Find the tour dates. If you live in one of those cities, go to the show. Pick up the record. If you can't make it because you're on the West Coast, perhaps, buy the album. They have a Bandcamp page. They sell all the shit on there. So go ahead and do it. It's well worth it. And I'm going to close out the show by giving you about a minute or so of a great song off the record called Johnny. You want more of the song, you're going to have to buy the fucking album, people. That's the way the system works. Go out and do it. See the band on tour. Thanks again to Sara and Matt for coming down to the cellar here and doing the interview. On the next Dark Stuff podcast, number 108, I will be interviewing the Omaha band Drake's Hotel. Will be playing music from a number of their records. They'll tell you their story. It's going to be a great one. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Transfer of data is complete. Updata is complete. Updata is complete. Updata is complete. Update.